Hi there, this is Catherine Tindall. Wanted to give you an update. The exciting IRS announcement from last week that they are halting processing. They're going to have a moratorium on any future ERC claims that they receive. This has put a lot of confusion into the space. So we wanted to give some feedback about some of our understanding of what's happening here. And is this the IRS moratorium announced, is this the end of ERC? So the first thing that I wanted to address is they're processing halting until the end of the year. Likely, I would not be surprised given if we're going to have a government shutdown. They're going to have to furlough employees. And then also we're coming into a new income tax filing season is going to be starting up in January. I don't know what that timeline is actually going to look like from them. But just know that basically what this is it's an administrative halt on them processing any new claims that come in the door after September 15th. Now, they had already had an internal moratorium in place for a couple weeks before. They just weren't able to tell us why. And basically the issue, as said in the announcement, is that they've just received a flood of new claims that they believe, and by flood, it's in the hundreds of thousands, that they believe to be erroneous filings. And so they are just waiting because the current mechanism that they have is basically they process the claims and then go back and inspect and then try to recapture refunds that were inappropriately distributed. And that's not a very efficient mechanism, especially if you think a lot of these are erroneous claims. So basically they've just halted the processing. So that's the piece that they're doing. Now, is this going to change the tax law? Does it change whether or not companies are eligible? Does it cancel the program? No, none of that. It's just that they're not processing them right now. So they've also announced that there's going to be a settlement program, which I'm personally very intrigued by, and thought that this has been a necessary step all along. And then also a withdrawal option. So for people who have submitted a claim that they want to take it back, there's going to be a potential way to do that. They didn't really give any information other than there's going to be a potential for abatement of interest and penalties, which is really nice just because underpayment of payroll tax is a nasty penalty. And I think it's a right judgment on their part that really, in order for this massive, basically, people abuse in this program, they're really going to have to work with tax professionals to get this cleaned up, and that they're not going to be able to achieve this through just audit measures alone. So we're really looking forward to what they're going to announce for the settlement program and how the mechanics of that are going to work, because I think it's largely going to be on the tax profession's shoulders to help get this mess cleaned up. Another thing that they announced is that claims that were filed and not processed expect another 3-month delay minimum. When I talked to personnel within the agency, they said that's a target. It's not a requirement, and also we don't know. They said we just really don't know timeframes at this point. It's all very fluid. So I would say, and this was the guidance that I gave anybody that was going for this program before this and after this, is just do not hang your hat on when you're going to get these funds, because they are totally overwhelmed with the burden of processing these filings right now. So it can be very long, especially if you have a larger claim where it's going to have to go through additional scrutiny, and then they're just putting additional scrutiny on everything. It's just going to take a while. So my question as a practitioner was, well, if there's still people that are eligible for this and are entitled to this, I know you aren't processing these, but do we submit the claim? What do we do? The current feedback that I got from the IRS directly was, if you have a client who is indeed eligible for this and you've reviewed the requirements and they are indeed eligible, submit the claim. We won't process it, but submit the claim, and then we'll wait. I asked them directly, are there going to be any administrative changes with how these are done? They couldn't comment on that. So my stance is, in our practice, we are waiting longer for any outstanding, claims that they haven't been filed yet, who are eligible for the program, for more guidance. If there's going to be administrative changes to, if they want supplemental information with these filings, if they want us to be sending them to a different processing address, anything like that. We're waiting a little longer to get more guidance, just because in my professional experience, if anything gets administratively messed up with the IRS, it's really difficult to fix it. And so, as much as possible, you want to make sure that when you're doing any kind of tax filing with them, you're following their standard protocols of how they like to receive the information and what you're providing, just so that you don't get stuck in a feedback loop of them requesting more information and things getting basically stuck in the system. So we're personally waiting, but that is not the guidance that I got from the IRS directly. Another piece is, for known erroneous claims. So if you're a tax professional and you're now starting to get clients approaching you that had filed for erroneous claims needing amended income tax returns, I would say at this point, your best next steps is just you need to recalculate what they're actually eligible for, and then just advise them not to use any of the funds. And we just need to wait for that settlement program to be announced, what the protocol is going to be to deal with that, basically to get the ineligible funds returned back. But I'd say for a lot of people who got pulled into these erroneous claims, from my experience, they do tend to qualify for something. They just don't qualify for the, six every single quarter, every single employee, every single dollar. They tend to qualify for something. And so that's the first place to start, is to see what they actually qualify for under the rules, and the rigor of the testing that you need to do. And then, sit tight and wait for the settlement process to be announced. But I would definitely proactively, for tax pros, reach out to your clients and try to get ahead of this, because, the longer you wait, or, if you basically, the IRS is really going to be relying on us tax professionals to help with the cleanup process of this. So check in with your clients directly if you're suspicious that a claim was filed that you were not consulted on, and that you think may be erroneous. Now, if you feel uncomfortable with the eligibility requirements, et cetera, there'll be a link below. I'm doing presentations currently for CPA Academy that I spend a lot of time talking about eligibility for this program, and have some good feedback for you about, what are the pathways for eligibility, what are the red flags, et cetera. So check that out. And then the last piece I would say is, for companies and organizations who haven't filed yet, who are eligible for the program under the very specific rules for it, I would not delay doing eligibility determinations, just because the IRS isn't doing processing right now. Because, like I said at the beginning, the IRS doesn't change tax law, they change administrative proceedings, right? And so if somebody's eligible for this program, the rules around revenue declines, the rules around eligible wages and PPP exclusions, and what's a qualifying government order, those things are not changing. It's how we do the administrative request from the IRS that could potentially change here. And that's what they're pausing. And so if you're going through the process of working with an organization you're trying to determine what they're eligible for, I would not pause that just because the processing is paused. And this is especially the case because, for claims that are coming from tax year 2020, where non-revenue tends to be more present, right? So you've got organizations that were subject to qualifying government restrictions. There's a lot of legwork that goes into getting those claims properly substantiated in terms of getting the government orders, getting all the operational data from the clients, really weaving together that legal argument of eligibility, that you don't want to delay that because the statute of limitations is going to be approaching in April for doing 2020 filings. So I would say do not delay going through the eligibility piece of it. But at this point, as of, this recording, we're waiting a little longer to get some more guidance on what's going on exactly. But not that you necessarily have to do that. That's not what the IRS told me, but that's what we're doing. But we're still continuing to do eligibility assessments because of the amount of legwork and time that they take, and the fact that that part of the process won't really be changing, other than maybe the IRS might have some changes in substantiating document requests. But even with that, I'm expecting it to just be more administrative pieces that change. So that's what you need to know about the IRS moratorium. Hope this video was helpful for you. And I definitely recommend, if you deal in this space a decent amount, or you have outstanding activity with clients with this, definitely just read the announcement itself. It's a pretty quick read. It's a little frightening, some of the figures in there, how much fraud that they've uncovered between this and the PPP. I think this is going to end up being a landmark situation for how they administer programs like this in the future, because it's just staggering, some of the activity that's going on here. So feel welcome to subscribe below. We post more videos. And then also, if you're in need of more formal guidance or actual tax advice, please get in touch with us, and we're happy to consult on engagements for specific organization situations and questions that you may have. Thanks. Have a great day.